Hello. You know what I love? Trees. They're really cool. So today, I thought I would just bring you some facts and some fun, interesting little tidbits about trees. And if you enjoy this, please leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If this encourages you to plant a tree, well, then my work here is done. So, let's begin. The first fact about trees, and these are going to go from pretty common knowledge to pretty interesting. So, enjoy. First fact, trees keep our air supply fresh by absorbing carbon dioxide and producing oxygen. In 1 year, an acre of trees can absorb as much carbon as is produced by a car driven up to 8,700 miles. Trees provide shade and shelter, reducing yearly heating and cooling costs by $2.1 billion. Trees lower air temperature by evaporating water in their leaves. The average tree in metropolitan areas survive only about 8 years. A tree does not reach its most productive stage of carbon storage for about 10 years. Trees cut down noise pollution by acting as sound barriers. Tree roots stabilize the soil and prevent erosion. Trees improve water quality by slowing and filtering rainwater, as well as protecting aquifers and watersheds. Trees provide protection from downward fall of rain, sleet, and hail, as well as reduce storm runoff and the possibility of flooding. Trees provide food and shelter for wildlife, of course. Trees located along streets act as a glare and reflection control. The death of one 60-year-old tree would return over 3 tons of carbon to the atmosphere. Trees are the longest living organisms on Earth. Trees and other plants make their food through a process called photosynthesis. The xylem of a tree carries water from the roots to the leaves. The amount of oxygen produced by an acre of trees per year equals the amount consumed by 18 people annually. One tree produces nearly 260 pounds of oxygen each year. 1 acre of trees removes up to 2.6 tons of carbon dioxide each year. Shade trees can make buildings up to 20 degrees cooler in the summer. Trees lower air temperature by evaporating water in their leaves. The cottonwood tree seed is the seed that stays in flight the longest. The tiny seed is surrounded by ultralight white fluff hairs that can carry it on the air for several days. One of the tallest softwood trees is the General Sherman, a giant redwood sequoia of California. General Sherman is about 275 feet or 84 meters high with a girth of 25 feet or 8 meters. The 236-foot or 72-meter high Ada tree of Australia has a 50-foot or 15.4 meter girth and a root system that takes up more than an acre. The world's tallest tree is a coast redwood in California, measuring more than 360 feet or 110 meters. The world's oldest trees are 4,600 years old, bristlecone pines in the USA. Dendrochronology is the science of calculating a tree's age by its rings. Tree rings provide precise information about environmental events, including volcanic eruptions. A mature birch tree can produce up to 1 million seeds per year. Moon trees were grown from seeds taken to the moon by Stuart Roosa, module pilot of the Apollo 14 mission of January 31st, 1971. The effort included 400 to 500 seeds, which orbited the moon on the first few days of February 1971. NASA and the USFS wanted to see if being in space and in the moon's orbit would cause the seeds to grow differently than other seeds. Crazy. Earth has more than 60,000 known tree species. Until recently, there was no thorough global census of tree species, but in April 2017, the results of a huge scientific effort were published in the Journal of Sustainable Forestry, along with a searchable online archive called Global Tree Search. The scientists behind this effort compiled data from museums, botanical gardens, agricultural centers, and other sources, and concluded there are 60,065 tree species currently known to science. These range from Aborima aboti, a vulnerable limestone-bound tree found only in the Dominican Republic, to Zygophyllum casgarcium, a rare and poorly understood tree native to China and another place. Because I'm not going to butcher that name. Next up for this area of research is the Global Tree Assessment, which aims to assess the conservation status of all the world's tree species and have it published on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species by 2025. This is a massive undertaking, and so far 77% of all trees have a published conservation assessment. Number 2. More than half of all tree species exist only in a single country. Aside from quantifying the biodiversity of trees, the 2017 census highlighted the need for details about where and how those 60,000 different species live. Nearly 58% of all tree species are single-country endemics. The study found, meaning each one naturally occurs only within the borders of a single nation. Brazil, Colombia, and Indonesia have the highest totals for endemic tree species, which makes sense given the overall biodiversity found in their native forests. Number 3. Trees didn't exist for the first 90% of Earth's history. Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and plants may have colonized land as recently as 470 million years ago, most likely mosses and liverworts without deep roots. Vascular plants followed about 420 million years ago, but even for tens of millions of years after that, no plants grew more than about 3 feet off the ground. Before trees, Earth was home to fungi that grew 26 feet tall. From about 420 million to 370 million years ago, a mysterious genus of creatures named prototaxites grew large trunks up to 3 feet wide and 26 feet in height. Scientists have long debated whether these were some kind of weird ancient trees, but a 2007 study from the University of Chicago and the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C. concluded they were fungi, not plants. Several kinds of plants have evolved a tree form in the past 300 million years or so. It's a tricky step in plant evolution, requiring innovations like sturdy trunks to stay upright and strong vascular systems to pump up water and nutrients from the soil. The extra sunlight is worth it, though, prompting trees to evolve multiple times in history, a phenomenon called convergent evolution. The earliest known tree is the Witesia, identified from 385 million-year-old fossils from the mid-Devonian period found in what's now New York, part of a prehistoric plant family thought to be ancestors of ferns. It stood 26 feet tall and formed the first known forests. It may have lacked leaves, instead growing frond-like branches with branchlets resembling a bottle brush. It wasn't closely related to tree ferns, but did share their method of reproducing by spores and not seeds. Interesting. that's been a bunch of tree facts for you. I really hope that you enjoyed this. If you like trees like me, leave me a comment and, say like trees or something like that. I hope you enjoyed this session. I will definitely talk to you soon.